Check 1 2. Hello. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Okay. Hello. We are back with another live stream today. Here to talk Star Wars Shop when it's pertaining to Skeleton Crew Episode 3, titled very interesting, an astrogation problem, which I thought was a very interesting title to the show. But as always, guys, hope you all doing well today. Hope that your Friday has treated you well. It was my day off, so I had a chance to work on a video for the channel. If you want to go check that out, you can. That I uploaded earlier this morning, and I think I'm going to be doing one more tonight for tomorrow. Hopefully I can get that done. I believe I can. And then, yeah, I'm going to look to wait for episode 4, but there's still a plethora of things to talk about with this show. But we're going to dive into episode 3 here. And I was trying to do something with my camera, but I can't. So I'm just going to stick with what I originally planned like I normally do. But yeah, episode 3 has definitely opened my eyes, and I've seen some other people's eyes to some things, a great many things. So with that, we're gonna just dive into it, guys. Let's get this done. If you're watching the stream later, you can always leave comments. I read all the comments on the channel, like even from the Andor videos. I'm still constantly getting Andor comments from my Andor videos almost every day. So I read everybody's comments, may even give it a little heart if I enjoy what I read. But I like we're diving into it. Like the opening here, they give a specific spot opening with at Atten here, specifically with as the episode is moving forward. And we get a little bit extra stuff. We do see some robots walking around per the specific spots here in episode 3. I did mention specifically up in the last episode from episode 2 that the structure of the homes are practically, I want to say, similar, same, which I find interesting. There's still so much more to talk about with the show, but episode 3 to me opened several questioning boxes for me, and like I said, I've seen other fans give their own topics, thoughts, but the father here specifically, we know him as a parent. He does indeed care for Wim. He cares for his son. And you know, I like how the episode opens up. And I did share this scene here in the video from earlier today. That he is not, like, his mind is his body's in the room, but his mind is elsewhere. And that's the focus is more so on, you know, when Neil's mom walks up to him with, I guess it's a glass of tea or something like that, he undistracts himself because he's so distracted. With the way that the episode opens up, you can hear the commotion among the other parents, but you see him specifically, he is just fully distracted. And you know, Fern's mom sits down, she looks at him, she speaks to the other parents. You know, they are, you know, everybody, all the parents are just like, oh my gosh, like, you know, like, what's gonna happen? You can kind of tell, again, as these 3 episodes have hit, that this populace, the populace of At-Aten, they are, to me, I feel personally that they are sheltered from a lot of things. There's pretty much, it to me, it sounds to me, and it visually speaks to me that they only know Aten stuff. They don't know or have experienced, to me, anything major like this. Something like this. As far as I can tell, even and it might be the same case in other homes, that there's no TVs, there's no anything around to distract them, to give them news on anything specific, because we know that in reality we have news stations and stuff, and they're always broadcasting the good and mostly bad things that happen in various communities. But to me, at Aden is a suburban space that seems to be 99% perfect, basically. Like, there's nothing going on, nothing wrong going on here. But in the back, we do see the mural in the back. And I believe a little bit further left, there's another portion of the mural extended out. I thought I saw that. But one thing specifically that I did notice, per At-Aten's setup, and even more so the symbol, is this specific thing. Now, we do see it a little bit later in the show, off planet, off world, but I see a lot of circles in this show. A lot of circles. The streets are specifically intertwined in a circle. And I saw that in the background leading towards, I guess, the city. Like, everything's in a circle. But this specific thing just stood out to me more to let me know that even in the symbol, the At-Aten symbol on the patch that that Fern has on her book bag, is in a circle. So it's just like, it makes me curious and wondering what other constructions with throughout the At-Aten cities or whatever, buildings, whatever, are there other specific circles. But then we get the one robot coming in into the house to inform them of some key information. And what is that information? And is pretty much more specifically to the fact that when when they are told that, due to the fact that, because I'm questioning something specific that the robot says, due to the fact that the kids basically got on a ship, flew out into space, something that is majorly bad in the view, in the eyes of the upper echelons of At-Aten, that they choose to not go out and search for the kids. They even, to the point that the robot even states that they because Wim's dad makes the ask the question of, will they will the supervisor contact the the Republic to let them know, to pretty much do what many, even in this instance, many would think is that is to form a search party, specifically people in charge, specifically other groups of people who may be willing to help, which may include some of the parents here in the room, is to hop a ship and go out. But again, the robot states that the supervisor is literally, and if I remember the quote, is that it's stated saying that the supervisor is not willing to risk sending out a call, sending out a whatever to the Republic to do so. So basically, they're saying that they aren't willing to make that phone call, because per the barrier that's set up in the sky, to what we get per the information later on in the episode, is that At-Aten is a very tucked away world. There's some very key importance with this world, and of course the parents are definitely, understandably, very shocked, very upset, confused, and all of that. But at the same time, Fern's mother does respond in saying that she will be looking to make a request to have a face-to-face discussion with the supervisor, which hopefully all of the parents will go to this thing, and we actually get a chance to meet the supervisor. That's what I'm wondering and pondering of who the supervisor is, what possible actor, actress, and whomever may be playing the supervisor here in the show, and giving reasons as to why they're not making the decision to do what's technically right, and that is go search for these kids. But again, with that statement of them not making the decision to do anything about the situation, that Wim's dad basically falls back into the couch and takes his glasses off, and yeah. But again, coming back on camera, the the one thing that stood out to me too with this specific scene with the robot is that it said that the kids did something very bad. What are the rules that are in place, and what are the consequences for something like this? I'm curious and wondering, because again, like I said, per the show, it seems to me that crime is very low wherever this specific suburban life, whatever. There's nothing bad that technically, from what I can tell, nothing really bad happens here, specifically in this section of Atten. And I'm curious and wondering, what are the rules as to why people and or kids should go up past the barrier, and what is the ramifications? What are the consequences to this specific thing, and will it then turn into something where it may not fall on the kids because of their youth, it may fall on their parents? That's something that I'm questioning per this scene. So yeah, that's that. And then we move to the back to Port Borgo, where it originally gave us like the back part, but I like this spot here specifically because we see underneath, we see the jail cells under there, we see this long thing connecting whatever. This was pretty neat to see, but then we get to more specifically the main focuses, and that is the jail cells and stuff. And we see a couple of the guards doing their thing, but this specific guard, because the prisoner was sticking, I guess its hand out, I guess that's its hand, decided to shock this prisoner here. And I'm just like, man, like, that's not nice, right? But at the same time, I kind of feel like it did it to just tell them to get back, right? But at the same time, with that distraction, we see that John on the Wood pretty much goes across and unctions the kids to go as well. But I did at the beginning of this section here, I did wonder why. Where are you? I did wonder why KB didn't initially go with them, but I guess KB in this moment definitely hesitated because she may have felt like she just was more so fearful of making the decision to move forward with the rest of them. Yeah, she was just like, she's like, I can't, and that's pretty much was her response here. But once Silvo moves up, he uses the force to make the distraction. He makes the distraction here. Just a simple. I didn't think that this was anything that was too big of an issue or anything like that. This was just a simple. I felt like more so this spot here was to just show that Silvo could use the force a little bit more, and to I guess to prove to the kids that he has the ability to use the force. Hold Hold on, I missed my spot here per my screenshots. But he does wave KB ahead, and she moves forward. But then we get the conversation of here with the kids of when Nawood says to them like, yeah, we're basically saying like, yes, I can't wait to get on your ship. The Fern is like, we never agreed. That's we never made this type of a deal for you to come, which is more so just that to just get us out. But more so, I think that this spot here at the beginning of the episode was to establish something between the five of them. Something I'm going to be talking about with KB soon that I noticed that I'm definitely going to be doing a video on. I don't think it's that specific video for tomorrow, but it's like half and half, something, because this type of thing, what I'm talking about, does indeed happen later on in the episode, and that is women Neil, they are open and willing to trust Silvo, while Fern and KB, they are not willing to trust him just yet. So per the episode, per this specific scene, should I say, it's more so, one side against the other, trying to figure out what's the right path. Like I said, women and Neil are gun ho. They're ready. They're like, look, we're trying to get out of here. We're trying to get back to the ship. We're trying to get it, get off of Port Borgo here. But that's Neil more so, as he stripped the wiring and talking to them, he does get at least info on a couple of the names. Women and Neil do state who they are, while Fern and K8 do not state who they are. But at the same time, Wim's response does indeed, his response to them is just saying like, well, we know each other. We at least established at least a name. So once they get out of there, that's when they pause to the side. They see a guard or whatever with the prisoner. Something interesting here does indeed happen, specifically in this spot. See where, because they're off to the side, and they are more so Fern and K8. More so Fern is trying to basically say like, he's Silvo's not force sensitive. He's not. He can't be. He's faking it basically. But Silvo is he is making sure that he is not being distracted. He's keeping the focal point of, hey, stay back, stay off to the side. But again, per this spot here, I do like how we do get a chance to see K8 get involved. KB, excuse me, get involved with. I want to say per her visor, because I want to say she's humanoid. She's like half human, half android type of thing. Because there is, and I think. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, because this droid rides, floats by. KB's the one that says hold, versus how Silva was telling him to hold, get back. KB was able to detect this droid going by, and then that's when Fern's response was basically saying, that well, maybe K8, maybe KB can use the Force as well, kind of like pointing at Silva or whatever. But I do like how he, once he got this weapon and he's brandishing it and everything, he's just like, yeah, like, we got to stay on our toes, right? We have to, right? But because Fern makes this statement of, oh well, maybe K8 can use the Force, that's when that's when uh, that's when Silvo does respond in kind and saying, you know, uh, the Force flows through everyone, because that's what he states, which is, you know, from what we're learning more and more over the various shows and movies, is that that's indeed becoming the case. Just, you know, it just means that the Force does indeed flow through everything, um, just like Yoda told Luke back on Dagobah, right? But the one thing that does stand out too is because we're, you know, a lot of us are questioning Silvo, his, you know, what kind of force is he, you know, did he, was he a Padawan? Did he have a master? One thing that stood out to me per this episode is that he has this hooded, dirty uh, thing on him, and it's brown. You know, usually most of the time, Jedi's wear a brown hood and or cloak. He has something of a sense of a brown hood or cloak. It's, you know, like I said, it's dirty, it's damaged, but eventually, of course, he does replace it. But you know, that's something that stood out to me per this episode as he was, you know, moving around and trying to be stealthy with everything. But we do also to see. I think this is the second time that this happened. I believe, if I remember correctly, in episode 2, somebody did. There was a fight that popped up randomly amongst the populace here on Port Borgo, and this spot here when they were running through the crowd. There was a fight that broke out amongst the populace here. So this is the second time, and this kind of makes me kind of feel like there's fights that go on almost every day. Um, uh, but with that, I got a little bit worried about this spot here, just because Neil stopped and he looked in the direction of the fight, and this person here with the gun, he kept looking back at Neil. He looked at him like 2 or 3 times. I was kind of worried that this specific character or something was gonna do something. This just stood out to me when Neil stopped here. So that's just something that just stood out. And then we get the camera pans back to show more of the inside of the pirate port here, which was cool to see. I did indeed enjoy that spot here. But then that's when they get on the little ship. We see other ships out there. I did mention, I don't know. I have to check. I thought read a couple of comments on social media stating that uh, uh, Hondo's ship was out here. I don't know if that's the case. I would have to really look and maybe see if I can find something on social media too. But I did mention this in the last stream of maybe Hondo, maybe possibly could show up in the show, but you know, because it is a basically technically a show about pirates technically. Even SM33 mentions that to the kids. But once we're on the ship, um, the one thing that Fern does mention here is that she says that, you know, that was just too easy, and it, to me, it kind of was a little bit. I was that's why I'm saying about with the person with the gun and looking at Neil and, you know, all this stuff. It did seem a little too easy for them to get from the prison to the uh, to the ship, but at the same time, that lets me know as a viewer that Brutus's security and everything just isn't that so tightly knit. You know, they aren't really paying attention to a lot of stuff. Um, uh, they're just not. To me, it just lets me know that they're not really fully set up in a specific way that could have shut all of this down within a few minutes or whatever the case. But you know, once they're on here, they do talk about the ship. They do talk about getting to it, and I do like uh, once they see the ship. Well, once they get near towards the ship, that's when Silva was like, he was just like, his expression changed. He was like, wait, that's your ship. Um, I did indeed enjoy his response uh, to that here. But once they get on and then they're talking, and that's when they bring up SM-33 about, hey, like, this is our droid, we need him back. He's like, we don't, we're not, Silva's like, we're not gonna go back, like they're not for a droid. And it makes me curious because I too was thinking this. I seen a couple other people on social media bring this up. He does seem to have an issue with droids. It makes me wonder why, and the reasons why, more so what kind of experience has he had with droids in the past. um so yeah, it just make me, like I said, it just makes me kind of curious because he's really against droids. So with that, he does make the decision to say, you know what, okay, we'll go, because I feel like I've mentioned before, Fern is to me like the leader of the kids. KB would be second in command, and then of course you have Neil and Wim, um, a part of the crew. And yes, per this scene, KB does step up. And I apologize if you hear any like running water in the background. My neighbors have a literally, no joke, they literally have a pipeline running through my ceiling that they connected to their washing machine, and it runs water in my the through the pipeline in my guest room here. Um, so yeah, it sucks, but luckily I don't sleep in the guest room often because I do have a bed in here, and um, yeah, it sucks sometimes if I'm in here and there's running water and I'm doing, say, a live stream, so technically a video recording, and the water starts running during recording. But that's neither here nor there. But once Silva makes the decision to go back, he does respond. I do like this part here where he's like, "Don't touch anything," because Neil had mentioned something to Silva about the robot, if I remember correctly, and he yells back like, "Don't touch anything." But Neil, more specifically, touches this specific thing next to the chair here. Like, it was just funny that he yells back and says, "Don't touch anything," and Neil touches something, and like everybody looks at Neil, and he touches. He literally does touch. I just thought that was funny. Just a little, definitely got a little chuckle out of me per this spot here. And then of course he goes back, but it it is interesting enough that they probably were only out the prison on that little mini ship, got to their ship, all of this stuff. Probably it may have only been maybe 10-15 minutes before they found that he, more so him, they didn't mention the kids. To me, that lets me know that the kids weren't a top priority. It was more so him. um, where this specific person is making the announcement. That this actor looked familiar. I just don't remember from what movie or show, but he looks familiar. It's just that they have the makeup stuff on his face to make his face look distorted and like damaged or whatever. But this specific actor definitely looks familiar. Like I've seen him in a couple of things. But again, he was the one that was yelling out like, Silvo escape, blah blah blah. We need to find him, blah blah blah. But then he gets to the section where the robots are, and I like this spot here because one, there's a lot of robots, and then two, um, Silva starts activating the robots. This one uh, said something specific. I can't remember what it was. He like activated, but then deactivated it, and then he moves on to this one. This one brought up something about a Prince, I think it was, if I remember correctly. And it kind of, this specific spot kind of made me think and wonder and ponder, where was this specific robot in, say, one of the Clone Wars episodes? Because I know for sure that there was indeed a Prince in one of the episodes. I just can't remember what. May even been Rebels even. But something about a prince, and this specific robot was yelling out, "No, the prince is in danger. Blah blah blah. We need to go save him. Blah blah." But then we get the battle droid little spot next. I think this is it. Yeah, and this was funny because once he turned it on, it literally blurted out, "Did we win?" And then it fell apart. So this battle droid was definitely from, seemingly sounding from, maybe possibly from the Clone Wars show, or even the prequel trilogy even. Let's see, where am I now? But then that's when he finds uh, SM-33, and he asks if that's who SM-33 is, and 33 says that depends on who's asking. But at the same time, the that's what it was. Neil had mentioned about when he was getting ready to leave. Neil had mentioned about the rat in the eye, and the rat pops out the eye, and he, that to me that more so confirmed his suspicion of this being SM-33. More so was just when the rat popped out of SM-33's eye here. But then we get this specific character that I didn't know was this actor until today, when I was putting this stream together. Give me 1 second here. What is it? No, that's not it. So this isn't it. But it's the actor from Spider-Man. Not Far From Home, but it's the other one. Um, 1 second. No Way Home. So it is the person who voices this character. Get him up. So Alfred Molina, who played Doc Ock, Otto, he voices this specific character who has a conversation with Silvo. He even talked about giving him some tea, and I was like, "Where's the tea kettle?" Right? And he did indeed end up pouring a cup while he was talking to him. But yeah, Alfred, this character, was talking to him, and that's when he mentions about about the kids, and this, that, and the third. So he does mention, this character does mention the kids, does mention the robot, and he's like, well, you used to be my favorite captain, but I gotta, I have to, I'm under, I'm under Brutus, so why don't we go and have a specific chat with Brutus, right? Just thought that was just hilarious in the spot, because you could see Silvo's response on his face. He just was just like, like drats. Like I was so, I was so close to getting back to the ship. But this is what I was talking about more specifically when I said earlier, probably 10-15 minutes ago, when it's a 50-50 thing when it's pertaining to Silvo, and trusting him, and they're having the conversation about him about his force ability. Fern doesn't believe he has the force. She just doesn't. KB is more so on Fern's side. Um, uh, Wim is like, look, like he can use, but like I said, Fern is like basically stating like he is tricks, and he probably used strings and all of this other stuff. Um, but like I said, Fern is the one that is like, yeah, like no, he is, he's a fake, he's a fraud, he's a phony. But in the background, as we're really paying attention, you probably can't see it here in the image, but in the background, we do see the flying ships going back and forth in the background here, and we see ships firing at a specific ship, and that lets us know that is indeed uh, uh, Silvo here running away, um, trying to get back to the ship. But that's when, of course, during the whole conversation, that's when they're just like, hey, like, more so Neil is the one that points and says, hey, guys, look. And like I said, that's when we get more of the specific spaceship port, whatever. Silvo flying away, almost crashing into stuff and trying to get back to the ship until he finally does. So yeah. And once he gets back to the ship, that's when he's like dragging SM-33 to say, "Hey, like, let's go, let's get out of here. We need to get going. Let's move it. Let's basically push the hit the gas. You know." And that's when we do see here specifically that their ship is still attached to the I want to say the gas line here, the fuel line, and they're just like, "Dak, like no, like this is bad." And that's when Silvo's like, "Well, let me take the ship here, take the controls, and try to get us out of here." But with that, there's the ship becomes bumpy because they can't really do anything until they get detached from the fuel line here. I don't know if it's this one here. They did, yeah, that's right. When they were moving around, they do show that this part here is they're trying to, because they're, I think, if I remember correctly, he took the ship and made it go into like a little bit of a circle, but before it could go into the actual circle, he, yeah, he scraped across this other ship next to them. That was bad. I thought that was going to really damage their flying ability for real. And also too, because they were flying away, they also dragged some other ships that were parked there, and uh, those ships were crashing into each other. So it was just a funny little spot here. I just think like this spot was supposed to be more like of a funny little thing because they're trying to escape, and it's just like they can't because they're stuck currently. But Brutus pops up, and he's like telling them like, "Yo, like man the gun, somebody man the cannon, let's shoot him out the air, blah blah blah." But of course, Silvo does mention like, "Hey, we can go into hyperspace, right? Let's just jump to hyperspace." But of course, K8 was the one that mentions um, that isn't it bad to try to travel into hyperspace, while attached to something. But he he makes the decision to still look to do it anyway, right? Yeah, because this was a part of the. I think this specific thing is the main fuel line, or specifically whatever it is that fuels the ships. And then once they fly off, yeah, damage does ensue. The line flies back. It hits back at the port. And of course, we see damage in front of Brutus here, but then he does mention the bounty, um, and he walks away angry. And then we're back on the ship with the kids and everything, and they activate SM-33. SM-33 responses like an intruder on board, but that's when the kid, more so women and Neil letting letting uh letting SM-33 know, like, hey, like, this guy saved our lives and yours. You might want to not be so rude towards him. But I thought that this was funny because he walks up with some food. Um, he said something specific to them. I can't remember what it was, but he walks up with some food. The food is actually green if you really look inside the bowl here, if you can see it per the image. The food is like a greenish color that he's chewing and stuff. But the kids, you can tell they haven't eaten hours, or maybe even in a couple of days. It's probably been a day or two or something like that. So yes, they are hungry, they are famished, and they need substance. Um, but he does look at SM-33 and says, "Hey, clean this up." Uh, but I'll get to that in a second. But the kids rush over to the pot to get some food, which I thought was funny. Just like, yes, there is food. If you're an anime fan and you love, say, the Dragon Ball universe, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, like myself, this would be right up Goku's alley, the character in the show, because he loves to eat food. Um, but this part here, when I thought it was funny that uh, SM-33 knocks the empty bowl that um, Silva told him to clean up. Um, he's like, I'm not doing this, son. I'm not messing with it. Okay, don't tell me what to do. I thought that was funny. Now, I do like how Silva was walking around. He was looking for some clothes, looking for a change of clothes. He grabbed his boot that was lying on the ground. He measured it towards his foot. I thought that was funny. Um, Trying to figure out what new digs he could wear, because his old, I guess his old clothes were needing to be replaced. But a nice little conversation that he has. First and foremost, he grabs this weapon here per the basically the corpse that was sitting here. He grabs this weapon. This weapon actually looked like the same weapon from episode 2. Let me see if I can find it, because I did not think to grab this here. Let me see, where's episode 2 images? Where are you? Here we go. See if I can find like I said, this specific weapon looks exactly like the weapon from one of the crab person from episode 2. Let me see. Like this person, this crab person had a weapon. I don't know if I grabbed the screenshot or not. Yeah, there it is. So yeah, so it kind of lets me know that these specific weapons that the pirates use are probably more than likely the same, which is very interesting to be honest. And then they do have like guns and stuff like that. But as far as like a sort of kind of like of a knife mini sword type of thing, this specific weapon just to me it looked like the same exact one um, that Silvo ended up grabbing from the corpse on the ship. So yeah, it just does. It just looks like it's the same exact one, to be honest. But then we get a conversation between him and SM33, and SM33 is trying to figure out who he is, and he does. Silvo does mention to him again, like, "Hey, you need to clean this place up." But I do like how, because we know what SM33 looks like when he's really fully standing on, like fully standing, fully. I just find it interesting that it walks with a hunch, right? Like a pirate. I just find that interesting that and I like that the fact that they decide to do this with this character. But again, like I said, he stands at his full height, and of course, uh, uh, Silva just laughs it off, pats him on the shoulder and everything, because he does ask SM33, where are these kids from, and he's just like, well, I just, I know that they're from somewhere, and he's just like, and he walks away, and it was just funny that turn right back around to say I again, right? Yeah, like I said, he turned around to then say I for the second time. I just thought that was hilarious. But then Neil feeds the rat here with a little bit of the green food. Again, the color green stands out a lot in this show. And he comes back to where the kids are. Well, just before he comes back to the kids, they have an interesting conversation. This is something that I'm going to be talking about in the video, but I'm just going to kind of bring it up here. They start talking about Atten and the specific jobs that their parents do. Um, uh, they also mention about wondering if at Atten, because again, per the conversation that they've had with some of the populace on Port Borgo, is that they found out that their home is supposedly a treasure trove of very antiquitous items or of the sort, like something of importance that has monetary value, right? But of course, Wim is like, there's no way that our planet is rich or has treasures or anything like that. There's just no way. It's just too boring. But again, per the conversations between all four of them, they are trying to figure out like, okay, what are the jobs? Like what would make it sound, not boring, because what our parents do, what X, Y, Z, there's a lot of analysts from what they're talking about, right? Per the show. But they do bring up the fact that they have these credits. There's a reason why there's these credits here, specifically, right? But with that, they are at least starting to really start questioning some certain things about their home planet. But I do like once they found that Silvo came back into the room, they hid the credits under their bowls, and then that's when he's like, it's time for bed. And Fern, I love this spot here because it still reminds me from episode 1, where I mentioned in episodes 1 stream, where basically the same thing where it happened here from episode 1, where KB had the what you call it in her hand. She tossed it, and then Fern's bag fell on the ground. Same situation here. Fern responds with, "Hey, I'm not sleepy. I'm not ready to go to bed." And then the very next scene, split second later. Where are you? I just had it. She is knocked out like a light bulb, just conked out, sleeping, all of that. But I love this spot here because, of course, 3 out of the 4 main characters, are asleep. And more specifically here, I do love that Wim and Neil have their own little hammock beds. They're comfortably knocked out. And I actually love how we get the little noise, the little snoring noise that Neil has. He's snoring through his little snout. I thought that was funny. But we do find out that, like I said, 3 out of the 4 are asleep. But KB is the one that is awake. She's staring right at Silvo, per this spot. And they have an interesting conversation. Because she sits up, she basically mentions like, hey, there's no way, because I don't, basically saying I don't trust you and stuff. There's no way that you can be a Jedi because I made the appropriate calculations that you're not a Jedi. But something interesting that Silvo responds, and what is his response? He says, in life, certain things, certain moments, basically, you can't calculate. You just have to go with your gut. And he uses the Force right in front of her to turn the lights off. And he mentions to her, like, hey, you might want to go to sleep. You just might want to get some rest. Of course, she looked at that and just was like, okay. Something to mention here, because I'm looking to do a little video on this. But once they arrive, I don't think they gave a name of the planet that Kim resides on. I don't think. But of course, we get them arriving to the planet. We get them arriving on the moon here, this planet's moon. I'm kind of, but at the same time, I'm curious because I don't remember them giving this moon section or whatever. I don't remember them giving it a name. I don't think. But one thing that stands out is that K8 wakes up specifically like this. I'm going to be doing a small video on this specific spot. But it's going to tie into some other stuff. It's just an idea that I have. I'm going to be working on the video. The video is probably only going to be maybe like, I don't know, 30, 40 seconds. So, but it's probably not going to happen until maybe next week or something like that. Once I have a little bit more time to really sit down. I might end up working on this video on Wednesday, because Wednesday is my next day off, because I work the next 4 days. But I do like this spot because this scene here of KB waking up actually harkens back to something that happened in the OT in the original trilogy. But once they get here, I do like the fact that Wim was riding this thing in the background. Silvo did mention, like, why are you riding that? We're not, this isn't a toy. But, Wim's response was like, hey, I'm just having fun and blah, blah, blah. And, you could tell he's just a little bit bored in the midst of him just waking up from being asleep. But this spot here reminded me of Spaceballs when the homies were walking with the group of the little folk, and they were walking across the desert on Spaceballs. That was the first thing that popped in my head, because it's the same situation where I mentioned where I put the video together about Wim playing with his toys, and it reminded me of the scene with Dark Helmet playing with his toys, and his second in command popped in the room, talk about, I didn't see you playing with your toys again. But this spot here reminded me of Spaceballs here, with, like I said, with them walking through the desert at the time. But again, this is a moon. They're walking, but they do have an interesting conversation. I found it interesting that Silvo makes this specific conversation with the kids to kind of give them. I guess I don't really know. You know, after this episode, originally, um, I was thinking, like, like Wim is just trying to figure out when, how, and where he can get his next big score. He technically, to me, he still feels like, you know, this, he needs to get a score. Like, he has to get a score. That's just who he is, because he's a pirate. But again, he does mention to the kids that, his friend, that Kim, may stab them in the back. But of course, Neil and a couple of other kids, they don't know what that means. I do like how his response to them is just like, hey, you know what, never mind, you don't understand, you'll figure it out once you get older, once you grow up. But it's just like, it again, this still goes back to what I said at the beginning of the stream, is that at Atten is a space and place that um that is tucked away, and the populace are basically, they are, they don't know what hardship, whatever the case, as far as having a down day, experiencing down moments and stuff like that. To me, it just seems like it's like 99% almost perfect, uh, of a utopias type of a suburban life for all of them. So that, the kids only know but so much. They're only taught but so much. And many of us can attest to, this information, as we were only taught but so much as kids, even in school. So same thing with Aladdin. They're only teaching the kids but so much, probably not that much information. But once we get to see Wim's hand here when she's talking to, basically the X-wing officers and stuff, we do see her hand, and I was like, ooh, this is a puppet. I got excited because I love puppets, right? And I love the fact that the puppetry in Star Wars is still alive and well in the Star Wars universe when it's pertaining to these live action shows and stuff. I really love that they used Kim here in puppetry somewhat, but then also still used the other stuff along with her character. But once they arrive to the front door, that's when we notice that Kim after Silva knocks on the door, Kim answers in a very interesting way, right? She uses these specific things to pop up out the from the little hole things to have a conversation with uh with uh Silvo, and it again, I love these things because they every so often they'll throw these back into, you know, these shows or movies, because again, I love this back on Return of the Jedi, back at Jabba's palace. I love this little thing that pops up, and you can, you know, the little camera, and you can chat through it to the person in front of people in front of you and stuff. I really love this spot here, specifically when it's pertaining to this show, this episode. But once they get inside, we do find out, like, oh, like, okay, Kim is a bookworm. And personally, I love books. I love libraries. I love the smell of libraries, like the room, the books, you know, all of that. I love books a lot. And my hope is that books don't go extinct. To be honest, that's just me speaking out loud, per my own thoughts, because again, I love books. I have a plethora of books here at my home. More specifically, Star Wars books. A lot of Star Wars books at home, both hardback and paperback. Um, but once we meet Kim, it's just like, oh, Kim, you are. Because she was on her little contraption thing, right? And she turns out to be, she's a cat owl or owl cat. I don't well, maybe a owl cat. We'll say an owl cat. Cat owl sounds a little bit better, but we're gonna go with owl cat, right? Sorry, I'm trying to because my screenshots, the images are so small. But we get an actual look. Like I said, look at her. She's a owl plus a cat. She has the wings and everything. Um, but she asked specific questions like, "Where are you from?" And she meant, they tell her at Atten and everything like that, and she's like, at Atten. She's like, oh my gosh, like I know of that planet, blah blah blah, right? But she does mention to them like, hey, your planet is definitely known, but like the pirates and stuff have said in the past, and um, she even says like, hey, like your planet is known, but to the rest of the galaxy, your planet is a myth. It doesn't sound real, but I have basically proof that it is real. And that's when she flies up. And even uh Silvo definitely believes them, right? He mentions that hey, they are indeed from Adat. And I believe, to be honest, like with this specific scene here, she comes down with the scroll, right? It's beautiful. Love the fact that they still have the paper here, right? That's why I say I love books, because it's like I love books, the pages and stuff, and even like a scroll, right? She rolled the scroll open for them, um, and this specific thing goes back to what I was talking about at the beginning of the stream, where I'm talking about the fact that there's circles. Yes, these are planets basically on the scroll, right? And then there's stuff at the bottom with the people, but they're these specific, what, 4 or 5 people are pointing towards something. Gonna be doing a video on this scroll here, that I found some at least key information that I'm gonna look to talk about in the video. But just needless to say that per the information that that Kim brings up, is the fact that their planet is very important. There is a specific importance to this planet that we're slowly finding out about, or on this show. Come back on camera real quick. That it played a key role for generations, for decades, even many decades during the old Republic, where she does mention that yes, there was your planet Aten, but then there were 8 other planets, because look like I think on this thing the scroll, it had like 9 planets. So Aten plus the other worlds were very important. But when you even look at this, the planets, the positions, it looks like a circle, right? Excuse me. But there's a specific reason. To me, there has to be a reason why the other 8 planets were destroyed, and they only kept at Aten. There's a specific reason that I'm hopeful that we will find out, say in episode 4, 5, 6, because I think there's only 8 episodes in total. So I love this specific scene with Kim, the scroll, the information, the kids, Silva's response, the whole plethora of stuff that happened in this section here per the episode. Whoops, I did not mean to do that. Let me take that off. But once they dive into this, and Silva was taking in the information, he does mention something, though, more so about the kids. It's just like, because Fern's the one that talks about like, hey, we need a map, and Silva's response is, no, you don't. You are the map. You are the key, basically, is what he's saying. And we do get a portion of this map a little bit. I want to say it's a part of, it's a portion of the map, right? That's when Kim decides to pull up her screen with a lot of this information, trying to really pinpoint where their planet is located. And she pinpoint down to 10,000 worlds, 10,000 planets. But Fern she wasn't really believing that it could work to find, because that's why I love Fern, because she's still thinking, questioning a lot of stuff in the midst of even just information being put in front of her. But at the same time, that's when Silvo is just like, hey, like, or you should be able to find where, because he knows his quote unquote friend here. He knows how smart she is. He knows that she has a great amount of information to be able to find almost anything, right? That's what he even told the kids. And he read right through her responses of saying like, oh, it's going to take some time, blah, 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 to do blah, blah, blah. But, he was just like, nope, I don't believe you. I think you're lying. And then that's when he turns on the actual radio that was turned down, that the X-Wings were almost there. And, that's when he responds the way that he does. And he tries to shoot at her, but she knocks him down. well before she knocks him down, she does say like, "Hey, you're not gonna shoot me, not in front of the children, right?" Um, but like I said, she knocks him down. I guess she may have tried to scratch his face or something. Here specifically, but he's like, we need to get out of here, and but they're leaving. I do like K8 because there's something specific about a video specifically that I gotta do on K8 here. Um, oh wait, I forgot to mention, because I did mention this in the video from a few days ago. This was prior to, because I forgot. Uh, because she did mention the symbol on Fern's book bag, on the back of her book bag, and that's what she ended up pulling up on her screen, and she was breaking. That's the thing. She was breaking the symbols down here on her screen. And I just believe that these specific symbols play a key role, per this story, per the function of at. There's something else going on in the background that many of the populace of at just never knew, never thought to question, never thought to look into. And part of these symbols is just one of the main things that is hidden right in front of them. And it, like, that's what I'm saying, like, per this planet and per the symbol, whatever, there are things right there in plain sight that they just did, the populace did not think to look into. And that's why I'm saying, like, I'm loving this show, because it is slowly giving us bits and pieces of what we are looking for. But back to what I was saying, K8 goes over to have a conversation with Kim, and she basically just tells her like, hey, like, you need to do what you need to do, basically, and whenever you want to have a chat with me, you can call me anytime. But at the same time, the one thing that popped in my head was, how would she communicate with her? How would KB communicate with Kim? That's the one thing that I'm kind of pondering, question, like, how would she get a signal out to her to talk to her or whatever? Because she didn't give her, from what I could tell, Kim didn't give KB anything to suggest that she was able to be in contact with her. Just didn't do any of that. And then once she runs outside as the last person leaving this place where we see the X-wings flying by. And they're like, we see them running across the moon desert or whatever. And we get the same sort of kind of section here when they're running across the little moon desert and getting back to the ship. Now, something that may become an issue or problem that I can see some fandom people having issue with, but I'm just like, I loved it personally. And that's the fact that Silvo decided to trust Neil with driving the ship. I bypassed. I apologize. Let me go back. That's what I'm saying. The screenshots that I have, the images are so small, I can't really have to lean into the thing. But before this, they have a specific conversation with Silvo, and that is like, hey, like, we need to know the truth about who you are and blah blah blah. He's like, we need to I'll tell you on the ship. But I found it interesting that the kids decided to want to have this conversation right now, in the midst of, them technically being in danger because they're running away, right? And of course, SM-33 is in the back. He's actually holding a little mini flamethrower that he turns on. But um, there is a video that I'm going to be working on with this specific scene as well. But he does mention to them like, hey, like let's get on the ship. It's better that we get on the ship versus us having this conversation. But I do like that KB decides to activate a her what you call it? I had it. I lost the train of thought. But she like the speaker or whatever to talk to the X-wings to let them know that they are over in this section because they were trying to find them because they were flying around trying to re-find them. But I do kind of like this spot with Silva because it seems to me like he was actually being honest for the first time per this conversation. Just being honest with you all. I think that personally, he was actually being honest, like, hey, I'm lost. I'm I'm still trying to figure things out here, and yeah, this is to me. This is him saying like, yeah, this is who I really am. You know, I'm lost like you, and yeah, I'm just trying to figure things out just as well as as you all are trying to figure things out. But like I said, I'm gonna do a video on this scene in the coming days or whatever, probably next 3 days or something like that. But like I said, once they get back on the ship, that's when I think that some fans may have a little bit of issue with this spot here, just a smidge. Again, he decides to trust Neil with flying the ship because he knew that he needed some extra assistance, and that was what to have two gunners. And he takes them to get into the cockpits of the gunners here to basically shoot at the X-wings. I personally just feel like I just lost you. Like I personally believe that what am I trying to say? I personally love this spot. Reason being is because me as a kid, I always wanted to do stuff like this. Of course, my parents would have never let me do something like this. These two, specifically Fern and Wim, they had a no real really it's not a pun intended, but they had a blast doing this here, shooting at the X-wings. To be honest, you could see it on their face. They were having a lot of fun shooting at the X-wings. So to me, I feel like a lot of us, like, come on guys, seriously, a lot of us would have loved to have been behind these gunners shooting at and shooting in the air, basically. Because they have a story to tell. They can technically say that they did this. They technically can say, like, dude, I did this. And I do love this spot because K8 was looking at this image trying to tell them when they could jump to hyperspace. And that's what Silva was basically waiting for. He's waiting for them to give the okay of when we can, and it was more so once he got back into the driver's seat that he was able to get the ship up in the air and out into space, and they zipped off back into hyperspace, back out, and the X-wings, they decided to park. Originally, I thought, because I think because that was the first thing that popped in my head when I heard the X-wing fighter speak prior to them actually chasing. That I thought that was Jon Favreau's voice maybe it was him. I didn't check the credits, but maybe it was him. Um, but this think this is the specific guy that spoke. Um, and it was just like saying like, hey, like, where did they go? And of course, Wim said, if I told you, you wouldn't believe me. And then we had that eerie, weird music in the background playing before the episode ended. So yeah, guys, I personally, like I said, I personally loved this episode a lot. Um, it was just fun. Like the past 2 weeks, the past three episodes have just been really, really good. All in all, would give the show an 8. Just being honest, like I said, I felt like a little kid watching this. Like I said, with women Fern, you being in the gunner seats and shooting at the like. Come on, like most of us as kids would have loved to be in that position to be able to do something like that, even in real life, so yeah, all in all, episode 3 was great, really good, and we just see that uh, this little bit of connection that's growing between these 5 characters. There's some trust being put on the table while there's still caution in the wind being blown. And Fern, like I said, Fern is the leader, to be honest. She's quick on her feet, thinking, all of that. And I think she gets that from, her mother. Blue Pig, what's going on? How are you? How are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Hope that you've been well. Hold on, sorry. Clear my emails here real quick. It's definitely more oriented. Yeah, and that is indeed. I'm doing all right. Glad that you're doing good as well. Um, that is indeed the intent for the show. The show is a feel good kid show, and this is doing exactly what it's supposed to do, and that is not only target the audience that it's targeting, but it's also to me at least, it's also targeting the inner child of those of us who are older, who are adults, um, who grew up on stuff like this. I grew up on the Goonies. I grew up on Spaceballs. I grew up on plethora of other stuff. Star Trek and everything like that. Outer space is my favorite place to place my thoughts, my thinking. That's my place of peace. That's why Star Wars and Star Trek, I get too excited about this stuff way more than what anything reality could really, put on the table in front of me. And episode 3 for me knocked it out the park again, and I can't wait for episode 4 on Tuesday. Also, yep, it was. Yes, it was. Not quality and not made at Chill's level. This is what Skeleton's Crew gets over there. Yeah, correct. The OT was, because technically Skeleton Crew is just like the OT, where it's targeted at the kids, but it's more so targeted at the families with kids, right? For adults to take their kids to see something like this, to sit down and watch, whether it's at the theater, whether it's at home, streaming on the couch. Yeah, Spaceballs is like literally one of my favorite all-time shows, right? There's, like I said, I mentioned it because maybe you weren't here. I mentioned it when they were walking across along the moon. I can maybe pull it back up on here. Let me then remove myself on the camera here. When they were walking across the moon, it literally pulled me right. This was the very first thing that popped in my head was when they were on Spaceballs. They were in the desert. They were walking across the desert, and this reminded me of that. So this scene and I just love, and that's the thing, because it's like a bluish thing. Like blue is my favorite color, so Yeah. Um, so yeah, like I said, I just love. Yeah, yeah. Comb the desert. Did you find anything? Nothing yet, sir. What about you? Nothing, sir. What about you? We ain't found. Oh man, just cracking me up. So yeah, there's a like I said, there's a plethora of yeah, yeah. Like literally, like I love that. Like, dude, look at it again. Like seriously, look at this. The planet in the background. You know, the lighting from the planet. You know, them walking across. Like, man, that's just to me. That's beautiful art right there, just right in front of our faces. Like, man. Um, but yeah, like I said, episode 3 was just it was just a fun that again another fun thing. But again, I'm gonna pull this back up. I'm glad that they put this here with Kim. Maybe we'll see Kim again. Maybe she'll pop back up. Where are you? There you are. To me, this was more so the highlight. The scroll. Kim talking about um, at Aden. You know, the figures down below look like it's kind of like they're worshiping something in front of them. Um, and I believe that at Aten is on this scroll. We just don't know which planet. It could be the middle one or anything like that. To be honest, they're all different. That's the thing. The planets are different shapes and stuff like that anyway, right? But like I mentioned in earlier in the episode, is that yes, she was. Um, One thing that I mentioned in the beginning of the basically the opening scene is that when we see these scrolls here, this scroll and the planets, this specific thing popped up, and it's something that I've noticed throughout these episodes. The circle, the roads outside of the At-Aten cities and stuff is all centered around a circle, right? And of course, the planets on the scrolls, they're of course shaped in the form of a circle, but also too, here's the symbol here that also too is shaped in a circle. There's specific things in this circle, and like I said several minutes ago, when it's pertaining to Kim's scene, is that her computer or whatever was breaking down the symbols on uh, the patch that Fern has, and it just makes me wonder what these symbols truly really mean. Per the screen here, and per um, the scroll. So I'm just like I said, I'm really looking forward to more of a dive into the actual history, and as to why at Aten is so tucked away, why they are hidden, why they are a myth across the various planets of the galaxy that's close to it. Now, where specifically are or is at Aten hidden? What section of the galaxy that I'm curious about? That's what I'm wondering. I'm pondering. Um, like I said, I'm gonna look to do another video talking about uh, this specific topic, but I have to do like I said, I have to do another video tonight for tomorrow. But Blue Pig, thanks for stopping by. I know you actually came in a little bit late as I'm getting ready to end the stream because I have to, like I said, try to work on this video real quick before I go to bed because I have to get up and go to work early in the morning. Got to work the next 4 days before I'm off on Wednesday, which I'm already looking forward to Wednesday getting here, and then I'm off the weekend next weekend, so I can't wait for basically all 3 of those days off. So with that, guys, leave some comment section below of the replay of this live stream if you watch the entirety of this thing or a portion or whatever. Let's talk about some things in the comment section. Like I said, I continue to say appreciate each and every one of you for even stopping by and checking out the channel, checking out the videos. I constantly get and/or comments almost every single day, and I read them all. And I'm definitely gonna be looking to push to actually do some and/or videos and/or live streams with you all, hopefully in the next couple of weeks coming, because that's something I've been wanting to look through, because we're only like 4.5 months away. April is not, no, 5.5 months away, or maybe 4, something like that. We're not that far away from April. 22nd, if I remember correctly, is the date of and/or season 2 when it debuts. Probably more likely going to get 2 or 3 episodes of debut that day, just like we did pretty much 2 years ago. Now that season 1 has come and gone. So as always, that show is going to be a mainstay here on the channel, because I just loved it a lot. And yeah, that show was just great and fun, and I can't wait for season 2 to drop next year in 2025. But with that, I'm out. Like I said, I'm gonna go do some things and try to get this video done for tonight, for tomorrow, and go to bed, because I gotta go to work tomorrow. So with that, hope you enjoy the rest of your evening and night, guys. Blue Pig, like I said, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it, dude. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening and night. And I will hopefully talk to you all on another video and/or stream to come soon. And remember, the Force will be with you always. Peace, guys.